Good day and welcome, America and beyond. I'm Tom Donahue for Tom Donahue Reports and The Briefing. So glad you can be with us. It's kind of shocking in a way that Trump has gone to the extremes with tariffs. Just call him Tariff Trump. Now, I want to harken back to the 1980s and 1990s when myself and Chuck Harder and various others, Ross Perot, were advocates of tariffs, where the Republican Party in general, and whether it be Rush and Levin and Hannity and Beck and the right wing, they all were free trade like Reagan, and it doesn't matter about fair trade. Yeah, it does matter, but you're going to use tariffs. You use them in a smart way. You are strategic. You're surgical. You look at each country and each tariff in its own unique situation or setting. And so that environment, if you're using logic and reason and common sense, and if you're also taking into account cause and effect and what industries are affected and how's it going to affect the American pocketbook, but also the checkbook and the bank account and the savings and the stock market. And wow, what a roller coaster. Several articles, and you probably have seen them, and I've posted them, many of them, at TalkStream Live and at TalkRight. And here's one that fairly recent, matter of fact, this evening. It says, "This is the moment Kevin O'Reilly urges Trump to find an off-ramp out of the tariff fiasco." And he said that on Fox Business. Ben Shapiro, not a big fan of, but he says he backs 100% right Elon Musk over criticism of Trump tariffs. 7 GOP senators sign on to a bill to check Trump's trade authority. Rand Paul has been vociferous and consistently opposed to Trump's tariffs. And both he and his father are more free trade, let the markets prevail. I don't know if Rand is a little bit more in tune with if it's strategic and surgical, but he is not happy. And we know about Mitch McConnell, so nothing's going to make him happy as it relates to Trump. But again, I have always positioned myself as a protectionist and fair trade and not free trade, and that tariffs are a helpful economic tool, and that we should protect the homeland. But Trump's not protecting anybody right now. I mean, it's like a bull in a china closet. There were some articles that tout that Trump has essentially said to his staff, and some of the leaks are coming out, that he says he basically doesn't give a flip, an F, okay, about the optics or the media press. Now, remember, he cared too much in his first term. They say now he's going to do whatever he wants, and there's nobody that he feels can stop him. And so there's no guardrails. Now, the courts are trying to intervene in some instances, and then all of a sudden they say lawfare and blah, blah, blah. But, there are separate and distinct branches of government. There should be guardrails. There should be constitutional oversight and protections. And I'm glad that Trump has made some very bold moves. Again, every president, every congressman, every senator, every mayor, every person within the United States should abide by the Constitution. And that because you're elected president doesn't give you a mandate to do whatever you want. And then how about when Trump made all these promises that he could end the Russia-Ukraine war in one day? See how that's going. He said that he could bring down inflation almost immediately. Not happening. I mean, it's actually getting worse. And now it's going to get a lot worse. And many people are using the R word, recession, a great recession. And Trump goes golfing. And he's just doing his thing. And he's got cabinet members that are following his dictates, the Justice Department, the FBI. They're all just doing whatever Trump tells them. Not saying, hey, wait a minute, we have certain, constitutional parameters and guidelines, and that we've got to do what's best for the American people, not what's best for one person with an orange face. There's just times where you want to applaud Trump, and then he goes, and then the silence is deafening from so many conservatives, so many Tea Partiers, so many MAGA people that just feel that Trump can run roughshod. I mean, he can be on a rampage, and he can just rumble with no opposition. So I will always be the guardian of the Constitution. I will always stand up for what's right. And I will always speak the truth no matter what. So I'm not beholden to a king, a queen, a prince, or a potentate. There's no person, no man, woman, no title, no individual that is sovereign over me, that has control over me, that will dictate to me. So many people, it's blind allegiance. It's just follow. Don't even consider questioning. You should question everything to get to the bottom line, to get to the truth. But trillions and trillions of dollars, apparently, again, I'm not a big fan of the stock market. I'm not a big fan of the Federal Reserve. No, I'm a zero fan of the Federal Reserve. It's amazing to me that they're saying in a 2-day wipeout, it's the biggest in history with market losses over 11 trillion. Now, remember, the stock market, just like the Federal Reserve, we're dealing with artificial constructs, if you will. You're dealing with numbers in bookkeeping and fractional reserve and various things that when they say that the loss, well, what substance was lost? Where did it go? Now, I know people's hard work and labor and energy and savings have gone into some of those things. If they've lost, that's a loss. But do I care about, Wall Street traders and junk bond artists and those that are just making profits, where there's no real production of anything tangible? No, I'm not concerned about that. I've never been concerned about this artificial reality in terms of so-called wealth that is really fraudulent. It's fake. It's phony because there's no substance. It's not real money. It's not real value. It's not intrinsic in worth. But nevertheless, those that are playing, here's an article. It says brutal montage of, actually it's not only an article, but it's a montage of Trump complaining about Obama golfing too much after he skips dignified transfer of soldiers to hit the links. Here's another article. Astonishing tone deaf. Media fiercely react to Trump touting golf win after market carnage, missing solemn ceremony, as I mentioned in the other article. Says Trump's not going to back down on tariffs. Calls them medicine as the markets reel. So reeling markets, plunges, wipeouts. We're worried about a golf score. We're worried about putting an orange mask on each day. We're worried about, do I have the best tie on? Well, let me just say that there's so many things that are being affected by blanket tariffs. They're tariffing islands with penguins with no human inhabitants. And one of the silliest arguments I heard was, they're making sure that every landmass, even isolated, uninhabited islands, that they can't use that as a way to, circumvent these tariffs. I mean, that's just lunacy. It's nonsense. I mean, do these artificial markets, can they rebound? Absolutely. And that, again, I'm not as worried about the stock market as I am the consumer, the average Joe and Jane and what they'll be shopping for. And then also people where they work, if there's going to be layoffs, if there are going to be pay cuts, if these companies have to, and there'll be price gouging. We saw it during the pandemic. Beyond just price gouging, you're going to see that some small mom and pop businesses are going to have to eat the costs until they can eventually, change their menus or change the pricing structure, or get the word out to their customers that there's going to be price hikes. But it's economic insanity. But it just seems to be this is self-inflicted. I mean, this is just one man with Navarro and a few other advisors that are just having a tariff party. A toga party would be better than a tariff party. But again, just to be clear, I'm a protectionist. I believe in using this as an economic tool to protect the consumer, to protect the American people and the American economy. And in some instances, until we can get manufacturing where it needs to be for universally, we will have to be somewhat dependent on certain things, and we might have to take a few hits here or there. But the economy was starting to look like it was going to turn the corner, that things were starting to prosper. People were, believing that Trump could reinvigorate the economy. And now, why decimate and devastate to the point where you have to rebuild. It's almost like going through the pandemic again. And what I'm saying is not an overreaction. This just doesn't make any sense. I mean, some of the most brilliant economists that are conservative, are just like beside themselves. They don't see any strategy here. They don't see they don't see an end game. They don't see a result that is commensurate with the punishment. I mean, right now Trump's saying we have to take this medicine and stop complaining, stop whining, and just suck it up. Well, when you're a billionaire and that you're also at the White House and you're at least on paper, at least, in the public, the most powerful man on the planet, even though we know that there's a new world order and there's global elitists that actually are more powerful, but that's more of a topic for another day. And I've covered that over the years. Take your medicine. Trump compares tariffs to medicine. Trump defends sweeping tariffs and calls them medicine as the market's real. Trump steps off the golf course to lecture America, take your medicine. Trump shrugs off tariffs and its turmoil and just says, oh, it's just medicine. Mm-hmm. So there's volatility, there's demolition derby, these wipeouts, these self-inflicted wounds. It's all about it's all Trump. Trump is apparently, whether it's negative, positive, he's just enjoying being a human wrecking ball. He's just enjoying just being a weapon of retribution. He must be somewhat sadistic and loving to see people under pressure and feeling the pain. And there just seems to be zero empathy from this guy. So even though Trump and MAGA do good things, this is just economic insanity. And again, I want to reiterate, I'm a protectionist. I believe in tariffs. I believe in fair trade, not just free, unfettered trade. But I also believe that just like in any sport, just like in any business, you have to be strategic, and you have to know when to throw that punch, and you have to know when to make that shot, and you have to know, okay, what is the likelihood? What is the end result? Do these calculations. So you want to take calculated risk. You want to do things in a smart, sensible, strategic way. Well, none of those definitions apply to the Trump wrecking ball. So that's all I'm going to say for now. I just wanted to share with you some of my insights and my reflections, and it's going to differ from the Trump faithful and followers of Trump, and not giving you the unvarnished truth, and not willing to step up and do the right thing, and exposing this turmoil and this unmitigated fiasco. So that's it for now. Tom Donahue Reports. Have a great day, and more to come.